I haven't been doing very many reviews or any kind of video logs or anything along those lines for quite some time. So I thought I'd throw out a quick one right now because I got something kind of cool that I thought I would talk about. So I've got here this Dungeons and Dragons starter set. Isn't it cool? It's a little box, and the reason why I got this was because I randomly got an ad on Facebook, pops up, and it's like, do you want a Dungeons and Dragons board game? And I thought it was similar to the Dungeons and Dragons starter set that I once had, and I thought to myself, okay, cool, let's check it out. But it was just a board game, and I said, I wonder if they have a starter set still. I think I actually bought one for my nephew some years ago. I think he was too young to really appreciate it. He was only about 10. But I got this Dungeons and Dragons starter set, and the age on this, let's see, I know there was an age 12 plus. So I'm actually old enough to play this game, which is good because we're going to check it out right now. Now, I want to say that I got one of these when I was really young. Like I was probably like around 14 years old, 13, 14 or something like that. I think I was in high school, so I was probably about 14. And it got me playing Dungeons and Dragons when I was in college, in high school. And all of my friends, I got them involved in it, and they were just like, my close group of friends, we all just played Dungeons and Dragons. Now, the reason why I say this is I've had some friends who like, we should start up our game again. So I live with one of those guys. He's like one of my closest friends, and we play Dungeons and Dragons. So we're opening up this box right now, this Dungeons and Dragons starter set. We should take a look at all the contents and so forth, and it's pretty cool. So what do we got? We're going to look at the back here, and we're going to just kind of read: explore subterranean labyrinths, plunder hordes of treasure, battle legendary monsters. Game of Thrones is over, so I got to have something medieval and kind of Lord of the Rings-esque to keep me busy, right? Dungeons and Dragons starter set is your gateway to action-packed stories of the imagination. This box contains essential rules of the game, plus everything you need to play heroic characters on perilous adventures in worlds of fantasy. Dungeons and Dragons classic, right? Game component, 65-page adventure book with everything the Dungeon Master needs to get started. 32-page rulebook for playing characters levels 1 through 5. 5 pre-generated characters, each with a character sheet and supporting reference material, 6 game dice. I always thought the fun was making your own character, but they have pre-made characters. So when you're ready for even more, expand your adventures with the 5th edition Player's Handbook, Dungeon Master's Guide, and Monster Manual. So I had all those for like 2nd edition back in the 90s. I actually played a little bit of the 3rd edition. 4th edition has kind of eluded me, and now we have 5th edition. So I want to check this out, see if the rules are different. I know that they do a little bit differently than my old 2nd edition. Believe it or not, my first game was the original Dungeons and Dragons, which you could only be like elf, dwarf. You could be a like a fighter, mage, or cleric or stuff. So of course you get your dice. You got your little 6-sided, 12-sided, 20-sided dice. All this cool stuff here. And interesting, they only give you, do they only give you one 10-sided die? Yeah, I think they only give you one 10-sided die, one 8-sided, one of each basically. So if you wanted to do a percentage roll, you'll have to roll the 10 twice. So that's why when I used to play, so I had 2 10s, so you can do that. Here we have the Lost Mine of, I'm guessing that's Phandelver. Phandelver. It's got some rules indexes on the back. This starter set rule book, boom. See, this is nice, easy to read. And it looks like we have some characters here, like character classes, rogue, etc. Try not to get that washed out. The light is a little bright right on it. Stuff like this. This is pretty neat. So this is this like a, oh wait, there's 2 here. A wizard who's in background is an acolyte who's chaotic good. Our fighter is lawful good, so he's kind of like a paladin, I guess. And we have rogue whose background is a criminal and he's neutral. He's a halfling. And then we have a cleric who's a dwarf. He's a hill dwarf. Comes from the hills. So we got all these things here. Who's our fighter? Who's level 1? Boom. Armor class 17. He's a noble background, but his alignment is a lawful neutral. Interesting to note that there is now a lot of empty space. So basically they have this huge box and not that much stuff in it. But it's a cool little set, and I think like I'm going to try to like go through a little bit more of this and just see, a little bit more of what's in this book. So we have, it looks like some kind of adventure. So introduction, This book is written for dungeon masters. It contains a complete Dungeons and Dragons adventure as well as a description for every creature and magic item that appear in the adventure. It also introduces the world of the Forgotten Realms, one of the most endearing settings, and it teaches you how to run a D&D game. This is just like the one that I had. Now, the one that I had as a kid had a big map. You pulled out this map. You actually had little miniature cardboard pieces that they gave you, and of course dice, so you can learn how to do it and learn how to create your own character. And it gave you like an adventure in which you actually start playing, and it was cool because you were like captured and put in a dungeon, and then you like escaped, and as you escaped you like picked up weapons and armor, and you moved to the next room and moved to the next room. And to me that was always like a really cool little like adventure. But this looks like it's got like a different type of way of playing it or something. So I'll go through this just to see how cool it is. And we have a starter rule book, so I'm assuming this has the rules. Now the rules may have changed because the last time I played this was like 3. So they kind of changed stuff, but it's all familiar, and they may have done things slightly differently. Like, they do stuff like the armor used to be like reversed. So like having a really low armor score was actually better than having a really high armor score. And now I think they've changed it so that your armor score, the higher it is, the better it is. Which I remember the first time I looked at that, it made way more sense. But here, this is my favorite. This is like the weapons chart. Boom, I'm gonna put that up there. See if I can get the weapons chart in there a little bit. And this is always a cool thing to me because like I like to pick my own weapon. So like, look at this: a club, a dagger, a great club. It's like, that's not just a good club, that's a great club. And I've been to some great clubs, and I've been to some not so great clubs. But and then we have a hand axe, javelin, light hammer, mace, quarterstaff, spear, and it tells you like how much damage they cause. Like a great axe is 1d12 slashing, battle axe 1d8, great sword, long sword, 2d6 slashing on a great sword. That's pretty good. That is not just a good sword; it is truly a great sword. Morning star, scimitar, rapier. Rapier is one of my favorites, but it was like one of the most expensive weapons, and it's a weapon of finesse. I think they still have the weapon finesse, which means that you can apply your dexterity to hitting someone with it. They also have that with rapier, scimitar, short sword. They're considered light weapons. I always thought that was cool because I've done a lot of fencing, like I've done stage combat with weapons, and I always think to myself, like a rapier is not a weapon you need a lot of strength for, but you do need a lot of dexterity for. All this adventuring gear, we have tacks and harnesses, we get backpacks, sacks, sealing wax, hammers, sledges. It's all here. This is all the stuff from the original. So I think it's kind of cool that these things are still out here. So I'm gonna check this out and have a lot of fun with it. If you haven't played Dungeons and Dragons in a while like I have, this will be a cool little trip to nostalgia for me. And that sort of thing. Now I have to tell you that I looked it up online, and it was like something like $12.59. So $12.59. I thought that's a bargain. I don't even know if I think I paid more than that for the box in the 90s when I bought it, like early 90s when I first purchased it. So I was like, I'm gonna go and pick it up because I looked on Target, and it was at Target, and they had it for the same price. And I go there and it's $19.99. I'm like, what? Wait, online it's cheaper. So I go right to the cash register. I go, look, here it is online with my phone, and it's less money. Is there a way I can get this for this price? Because it actually says I could order it and pick it up in 2 hours. So I'll just order it and come back in 2 hours and save $7. So luckily they were just like, sure, we'll give it to you for $12.59. So I got it at the discounted price, and now I have this cool little box set that I can play with, and maybe get some friends involved, and we'll do some kind of like Dungeons and Dragons adventure. It'll be fun. At any rate, that's it for now. I'm going to be probably doing a little bit more vlogging now that my work schedule is nowhere near as intense as it was in the month of May. So hopefully I'll see you guys again, and you can subscribe, and we'll talk just more crazy stuff. The studio's up and running, so hopefully we're going to have a lot more content coming out soon. All right, till next time.